guys, what is going on once again? This is the Club of the Man 1993 coming at you for the 25th edition of the 25th anniversary of SummerSlam. As we are on now SummerSlam 2012. Again, it's the 25th edition of my SummerSlam Retro and Review series as well. Again, we are very close to the end. We have 4 more SummerSlams left I'm watching after this. As I keep saying, I'm not rewatching 2017 because I already did a live review for that show on this channel, and again, I feel it's a dumpster fire. I don't want to go back and watch it again, except for maybe that main event. That main event for SummerSlam 2017 was worth it, but not going to talk about that. Let's talk about SummerSlam 2012. Now, SummerSlam 2012, I feel, here's the thing. I gave last year's show a lot of praise, 2011's. It was a really strong show. Despite the fact I felt the match card was a little bit on the weaker side, I'll be honest, it wasn't really one of the strongest cards I've seen. It still, I felt, really capitalized for the talent that was on that card. I felt that it was a good all-around show. I thought last year's SummerSlam 2012 had a stronger card, I felt, than SummerSlam 2011. However, the matches were still good, but they all felt like they could have been a little bit better. They were good, but it's like that. A lot of people use this example, that firework that goes up in the air and shoots out, which make that reference since it's day before Independence Day, and it shoots out, and it's good, but you're like, I expect a little bit better. That's how I felt about SummerSlam 2012. Definitely, I feel one of the more underrated SummerSlams, I feel, in my opinion, but it definitely could have been just a little bit better based off of, the stat card we had for this show. But overall, still an enjoyable show. Again, definitely underrated. I would recommend going back and watching it sometime, because it's a pretty good show. This show took place on August 19th, 2012. For me, literally the day after I considered my first day of college, of course. I wasn't watching wrestling yet back then. This is the year before I started watching wrestling. Of course, as I keep saying, up until 2014, it was in the Staples Center in Los Angeles, California. The opening match we had was Chris Jericho, who has now recently become more of a babyface. He getting towards the end of his 2012 run in the WWE. He returned, and then he feuded with CM Punk. Of course, that's a feud where, Jericho is literally doing everything he can just to, get under the skin of Punk and just troll with him. Just to get that championship off of him. It was like I always say, his match at WrestleMania with CM Punk for the title that year was still one of my favorite matches to go back and watch, because it was Jericho being just that troll dick to Punk, going, "Hey, beat ahead, Punk! Hey, beat ahead! Your father's a drunk, Punk! Your father's a drunk!" Well, towards the end of this run, again, this was his second to last match before he left. He had to a feud with Dolph Ziggler, which Ziggler was Mr. Money in the Bank, as he won the World Heavyweight Championship Money in the Bank contract. Of course, we have to say it that way because, if you remember saying last year, shortly after SummerSlam 2011 was when the brand split was dropped, and all superstars were on both shows now for a couple years, which again wasn't really that great of an idea. It made one of the shows look, weak and worth and points like SmackDown. It just felt like it was just a recap show. Anyways, getting off topic here. So we had the match here with Chris Jericho and Dolph Ziggler, with, of course, Vicky Guerrero still in his corner. This is the last year also we see Dolph Ziggler having Vicky Guerrero in his corner, because at the end of the year, Dolph goes off with AJ for a little bit. Speaking of which, she's the Raw general manager also on this show. But anyway, so Jericho and Ziggler had the match. And, for the most part, I thought it was a solid match. I thought it was a solid opener between these two that I thought, worked very well together, had good chemistry together. The only little gripe I have about this is, why didn't Dolph win this? Like, I felt that as Mr. Money in the Bank, they could have given Dolph the win to give him, the momentum going forward as well as Mr. Money in the Bank. And that's why I always don't like it. They always seem to book the people who are Mr. Money in the Banks as, losers on big events like, SummerSlam and whatnot. I mean, he did, of course. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, because I've seen the results for pay-per-views in 2012. But I know he won, interference by AJ. He won the match against John Cena at TLC that they had. But of course, they were, Dolph Ziggler's guy people were getting behind, because, they thought he was an overlooked talent, deserved to be a World Heavyweight Champion. But Jericho got him to tap out to the walls of Jericho, which again, kind of stunk, because, we would have rather have seen, Ziggler win the match, give him more momentum as Mr. Money in the Bank. But then again, as someone pointed out too in the critics I reviewed, why would they want Jericho to lose every single match he had that he was going to be, going away from? He had one more match, I think it was on Raw or SmackDown, that week, where if he lost a match, his contract was terminated, which he lost the match. But of course, they kind of picked up right where they left off when he returned at the 2013 Royal Rumble as a surprise entrant, and him and Ziggler start off, and they pretty much just kind of like reignited their feud in some ways at the Royal Rumble. But so Jericho gets a win here over Dolph, but of course Dolph would get the win over Jericho like in the next couple days to write Jericho off until Royal Rumble 2013. But a solid opener, I thought. Good match between Jericho and Ziggler. Backstage, we have Josh Matthews interviewing Paul Heyman, the advocate for the Beast Incarnate, Brock Lesnar, as Lesnar returned to WWE for the first time since 2004. After, of course, him and Goldberg had that atrocious match at WrestleMania 20. But apparently, during the show, even though it wasn't considered a no-holds-barred match, Triple H told the referee for their match, Scott Armstrong, that he feels that their match should be anything goes. No countouts, no disqualifications. There needs to be a winner. I mean, there wasn't really any much weapons use in this match. I mean, it was mainly just, they did some stuff with the tables, but get a little ahead of myself. But basically, as the case was, that was just Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar responding to that. And it seemed like here also, Brock Lesnar wasn't really about Suplex City at the time. He was more so about, that Kimura lock was pushed on him more because he had broken the arm of both Triple H and Shawn Michaels in the build to this feud. So now they're saying that Triple H was going to tap out. So we'll talk about this match later on in the night. Then we had Daniel Bryan versus Kane, which was a little bit weird because these guys were kind of like heels or kind of like tweeners and whatnot. But this was, the match I thought was just a decent, like 8-minute match or whatnot. It wasn't anything really too special for like a SummerSlam match. It was still good for what it was, but it was more felt like an angle to set up, what was yet to come in the build for the forming of Team Hell No, which is Daniel Bryan says was only supposed to last about a month, and they were just going to go back to feud with each other pretty much. But then it was going over so well that they kept it going, and they had an 8-month title reign. So that's what this match pretty much did. Daniel Bryan was coming out, earlier in the year, he was embracing, the yes chance, but now since he was still being more of like a villain, when he's coming out to, going no to all of us, and, we're all saying yes. He gets like a schoolboy roll up on Kane to get the victory. And then after the match, Bryan goes running, and Kane goes backstage and just starts throwing things everywhere, going nuts, looking for Bryan. He even tosses Josh Matthews, poor guy, around also. Again, this will just eventually set them up for, anger management, the anger management class with Dr. Shelby, who returned last night on Raw, by the way, to help Bayley and Sasha. We'll see how that goes. So yeah, it's just what's set up, a classical act with Daniel Bryan and Kane being Team Hell No. So that's what this match was. It was more so like an angle to set them up. Because a short 8-minute match you probably could have seen on like Raw or SmackDown, but it was still a solid match for what it was. Again, it's just playing the seeds for Team Hell No. So I found it effective. Then we had The Miz versus Rey Mysterio for the Intercontinental Championship. Not a bad match, but I do definitely still agree that The Miz, even though he always has not been, the best in-ring performer. I mean, he's definitely gotten a lot better over the past couple years, especially also on the microphone, but he was still, I found this match nothing really too spectacular. It was one of those matches that, yes, there was some good back and forth action between him and Rey, but it felt like it wasn't anything too special of an Intercontinental Championship match based off what we've seen in the past before. And I still so far say one of my favorite Intercontinental title matches is definitely between Dolph Ziggler and Rey Mysterio at SummerSlam 2009. That one. So, I mean, this one was still good. Decent, I thought it was, but nothing really too special. The Miz gets the win with the skull-crushing finale on Rey Mysterio. So we got that there. And then we have CM Punk backstage waiting for his turn to go into the Raw General Manager's office, which is his future wife, AJ Lee, or as in an interview he calls her, Ape. AJ Lee's real life name is April, but apparently Punk calls her Ape. A little tiny hot girl is being called Ape. But anyways, so he goes in to talk to AJ because he's trying to talk her out of having to defend his title in a triple threat match, because we all know this is this was like in the 274th or 75th day of CM Punk's 434-day title reign, and Punk had just recently turned heel at Raw 1000 is demanding more of a showing of respect for him as champion, which I feel, if Punk was going to continue on this championship run as long as he did, a heel turn wouldn't really hurt at all. I felt, because it gives him some more of a fresh angle to go to. I feel like he watching back and seeing who he'd feud with him, like maybe it was best for him to go this other route. I mean, he was only going to get cheered either way, but it's kind of like, in some ways, it's kind of like how AJ Styles went heel, just to more so light the fire in him. Because I feel like if he would have stayed babyface, he would not have been. He would still been a little, vanilla, and just had that one element missing from him. But CM Punk's more so turned heel. He just needed other options. He was still pretty much cheered for it, whatnot. But he basically wanted to try to get out of the triple threat match, because he felt that it was a champion's disadvantage or whatnot. And AJ Lee was ignoring Punk to stand there with this look on her face the whole time. Like the whole entire time, pretty much. So true that she wanted nothing to do with it. And Punk, starts saying stuff about, oh, this is because, you tried to propose to me in the middle of the ring, and you denied it. So this is you getting back at me right now and whatnot. But of course, that probably was not the case, even though AJ Lee was supposed to come off as some crazy chick, as Punk would call her, pretty much. So we had that segment, but of course did not work, and Punk saw us to defend his championship in the triple threat match later on tonight. We had Sheamus versus Alberto Del Rio for the World Heavyweight Championship. This was in the midst of Sheamus's, he had a lengthy several month title, I think from WrestleMania 28 when he won in 18 seconds against Daniel Bryan, till he dropped at the Big Show at Hell in a Cell. His world title reign as a babyface. He won the Royal Rumble in 2012. Going into this match, I didn't really think too much of this match, because I've never really been a big fan of Alberto Del Rio's, as we all know. And, I always have, appreciate Sheamus for, the wrestler he is. Has always felt that he never really had, a good character for a main eventer. But I still thought, wrestling-wise, I thought this was a good physical match for what it was. It definitely was, kind of exceeding my expectations going into the match, because this feud was more about, class and whatnot. But of course, the dynamics were kind of off, because Sheamus was meant to be the babyface, but he stole Alberto Del Rio's car, crashed some, party scene or whatnot, and he got, all this stuff dumped onto his Del Rio's Ferrari and whatnot. And then again, despite the match being kind of really physical and whatnot, it ended on a really wonky note. Sheamus, at first it looked like, Del Rio was going to use a shoe on Sheamus to cheat. Well, I'm sorry, Ricardo Rodriguez threw the shoe into the ring, and instead Sheamus caught it, and he smacked Del Rio with it when the referee wasn't looking, and he hit Del Rio with the white noise, and then he goes to pin him. The referee had his back towards the ropes, and Del Rio's foot was on the ropes, but Sheamus took the win. That's more of a heel move right there. We're supposed to be cheering for Sheamus, but it's kind of like a heel move right there. Why did he, just accept that fact that he got away with a dirty win and whatnot? Especially because I haven't watched all the Raws in the past and whatnot, but I thought their next match at Night of Champions was based off the storyline that Del Rio was trying to get the bro kick banned whatnot. And it felt like, why would maybe it was Del Rio trying to, pickpocket at Sheamus, whatnot, but why would that transition from that storyline become up based off of, what happened with the, the finish of this match here? I just felt that the finish was kind of just wonky with the shoe and whatnot. The match I thought was good. I was definitely, enjoying it. Definitely was one of the better matches on the show that I thought it was going to be, but I wasn't a big fan of that finish. So Sheamus retains, and then that was a head scratch at the end of there. I'm like, what? So Sheamus wins the match despite Del Rio's foot being on the rope. We then had, when I saw it online, this team's going to be called R-Boom, Kofi Kingston and R-Truth, the tag team champions, taking on the primetime players, Darren Young and Titus O'Neil. Now, as I mentioned in the last review, R-Truth in 2011 probably had the best run of his career, being a heel, teamed up with The Miz, and they were supposed to win the tag titles after Survivor Series in 2011. Unfortunately, due to them violating due to R-Truth testing positive for violating the wellness policy, um, he was suspended, and they had to pull the plug on Awesome Truth, so they had to have one of them turn face. So they chose, of course, the Miz turning on R-Truth pretty much, and R-Truth came back, and they were trying to uh, keep the what am I looking for here? They were trying to keep the this new like little Jimmy gimmick and whatnot on R-Truth as a babyface, but it wasn't quite working as well for him as a babyface. So as you can see, it was still somewhat there, but he was slowly transitioning back into his rapper gimmick that he had before he had turned heel. They're taking on them and the Primetime Players, who, I'll be honest, I thought the Primetime Players, when they were together, were definitely an underrated tag team, underappreciated. I mean, I'm glad even though it felt a little bit pointless now, I felt like I was glad they did get a short run with the tag titles in the summer of 2015 when they feuded with the New Day. But here I felt that they were still they weren't the best in the ring. They were not bad, but not one of the strongest looking teams I felt in the ring, I thought. So, I mean, this match was just like an average to decent tag team match. So it wasn't bad, but it was just not really a big standout match in my honest opinion. R-Truth gets a win by hitting that shut up move that I think he called it shut up, like that finisher he had, which I'll be real. Despite me not being a big fan of R-Truth, that finisher looks pretty sick. I do like that. But apparently it's called the shut up. So he gets that to have him and Kofi retain the tag team championships. Of course, they would drop them a month later to Team Hell No, which was Daniel Bryan and Kane, as we discussed earlier. Moving on now here. I kept this note here. Didn't need to leave that in there. To the first of two matches trying to consider their main events. WWE tries to pull of us. Oh, there's multiple main events. Nope. There's one main event. It's the last match. But we had the WWE Championship match, a triple threat match. It was CM Punk, the champion, taking on John Cena and The Big Show. So again, this is in 2012. This was during that whole storyline where, they were trying to build Cena off from, going into a big slump after he lost to The Rock. Well, again, as I mentioned, how many times? He beat Brock Lesnar in Lesnar's first match back at Extreme Rules, which was completely pointless. He lost to John Laurinaitis at Over the Limit, but then he beat The Big Show to get Laurinaitis fired at the next pay-per-view anyway. So he still got the win there. He won Money in the Bank, the Raw Money in the Bank contract, in a really kind of weak ladder match. There's only like 4 or 5 people in that ladder match. Like guys like, like you didn't think you would see Big Show or Kane winning it. Maybe Chris Jericho, but Jericho was going around too much long. I think The Miz also got in there also. But it was just a too predictable match, I felt, in my opinion, that John Cena was going to win. He gave CM Punk a week notice that he was going to be cashing in his contract. They had their match at the main event of Raw 1000. And then, of course, as I say later on, he got to make it out of AJ Lee. So how could John Cena still say 2012 was a bad year? But him and the Big Show feuding kind of tied in with him and CM Punk being in a title scene. So that's how this match came about, pretty much. The match was good. I mean, again, I've always praised Punk and Cena for having really good chemistry together. The thing that kind of dragged this match down a little bit, despite the fact that I thought, I'll give him credit, even though I felt that, they did push him over other stars at times, especially in 2015. I hated the heel run he had in 2015. I thought the Big Show looked like he was probably in decent shape still around this time. However, though, they had him seemingly carrying most of the match with just Punk and Cena trying to one-up each other on the Big Show, pretty much. Like, that was the story going there. I mean, it pretty much, planted the seeds where they were supposed to feud for the fall. They had a match at Night of Champions, and then they were supposed to face off again at Hell in a Cell, but that's when Cena got hurt, and Ryback got thrown into the main event scene way too soon, and then, it's all history from there. Anyways, and apparently Punk got involved in the feud that took 20 years off his life, as he said. Anyways, though, but with Big Show being the one that seemingly carried this match, there was only so much that Punk and Cena could do. Of course, there was the known getting Big Show to tap out to both. There was submissions at the same time. But then it restarted the match, and within a minute later, Cena hit an AA on Big Show. Punk threw Cena out of the ring for him to pin the Big Show to get the victory. So again, it was still a good match, I thought, but it could have been a lot better if they didn't have Big Show carry the whole thing, you know what I mean? So Punk retains. He goes on to hold on that title until Royal Rumble 2013 when he drops it to The Rock, as we all know. And then we had our main event, as it was called, the Perfect Storm. The first match we've seen between Brock Lesnar and Triple H. The first, we also got the second at WrestleMania 29, and then the third match, it was a steel cage match at Extreme Rules, which I haven't seen that match. So we got this match here. So again, this storyline here behind this is Brock Lesnar returned to WWE this year. Again, even the fact that he kind of looked weak going into this match because, he lost to John Cena, which again, why? Why didn't they just book him? Because, the stuff Heyman said in the build it saying that, Brock said he was going to come in and beat people up, and he did. I'm like, yeah, but he still lost his match, pretty much. You realize that, right? So he came in there and he wants to make, WWE everything he wants. He wanted to make Raw, Monday Night Raw, starring Brock Lesnar. Of course, that wasn't going to happen. John Laurinaitis was trying to make him the next big thing in WWE, of course, storyline wise, before he got fired. And then that's when Brock targeted Triple H. They feud each other, resulted in that segment on Raw 1000 with Heyman going, name calling. You guys will resort to name calling, pretty much that thing there. And when Heyman took shots at Triple H and Stephanie's children and whatnot, he pretty much was cornered until he accepted the match. Again, he broke Triple H's arm for 2 months. He was gone for a couple months. Also, he broke Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels apparently was supposed to be in the corner for Triple H, but Shawn Michaels was written off because of that. But anyway, so we had the match between Brock Lesnar and Triple H here in the main event of SummerSlam. Now, I'll give it the fact that these guys still put on, a physical and grueling match. The problem is I've seen with both the matches, I have not seen the steel cage match between them at Extreme Rules. I think Brock won. I'm not 100% sure. But the problem I had is that the fact that I felt like something was just off. Like something was missing. Yeah, they were brutal and whatnot. They're two guys who are both, like 6'3", 6'4", 250, 280 pounds, however much Brock Lesnar weighed at the time. I feel like, the matches they've had were still a little bit slow. Like, they were physical, but somewhat slow. And this match did pick up a little bit towards the end with, the near falls with the finishers, with the F5. The F5 wasn't as big of a deal because at that time, Lesnar's more so deadly finisher was the Kimura lock. And Triple H had two pedigrees on Brock until Brock trapped. Looked like Brock was out for the second one, but then he pulled Triple H right into the Kimura lock, and it took about a minute or two. But when he pretty much re-injured Triple H's arm, kayfabe wise, which is what wrote Triple H off of television for the next several months until he came back to pick up the feud at for WrestleMania 29. Pretty much, when Brock Lesnar returned to save Paul Heyman from being fired after Heyman was caught bribing the Shield to help CM Punk in his matches. So that's pretty much that. But that's what the storyline did there. Afterwards, I guess it was a weird send off because Triple H first was getting cheered for, but then he started getting the "You tap out" chants and whatnot, and Triple H walked out, and that was the end of SummerSlam 2012. So yeah, good main event. Just thought the pace was a little off. Again, something just felt like it was missing in this match to make this feel like, it was more of like, an A-worthy classic. It felt like a B. It was a B+ match to me. It was a good match, but something was missing, I thought, in my opinion. But that's how he went off the air. Again, Lesnar wins by submission. And for the most part, I thought SummerSlam 2012 was a good show. It was a little bit better than solid. Nothing really, was awful, I felt, in my opinion. So with that being said, I'll give SummerSlam 2012 a B. A solid B for SummerSlam 2012. An underrated show. Definitely could have been a little bit better because most of these matches felt like, they were good, but they could have been better than what they were. But still a good show to sit through. Definitely an underrated show, I feel, in my opinion. So what grade would you give SummerSlam 2012? Leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. And be sure as always to click buy, like, and subscribe for more content on this channel. And follow me on Twitter as well at DemandAirboy93. So guys, the next SummerSlam review we do is SummerSlam 2013. And I cannot wait to watch this show. I have not watched this show since I first watched it back in 2013. And as most of you know, this SummerSlam holds a very special place in my heart. Because it was not just the show, possibly the best SummerSlam of all time, but it was the show that got me to go from being a casual viewer to being a full-time wrestling fan. Why? I'll explain next in the 26th edition of this SummerSlam Retro Review Series. So until then, guys, I am the Club of the Man 1996. Wow, no. I'm the Club of the Man 1993. I'll catch you guys then. Peace out, everybody.